Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to give my review of AEW's Grand Slam. Now, a couple of things happened at Dynamite Grand Slam. Some good, some bad. I will say this is the first time that AEW's actually had a Grand Slam event in Mexico, specifically Mexico City, in Arena, Mexico. The fans were great. The fans were really one of the key components of why this show was actually decent and not terrible. The fans over in Mexico, man, they were absolutely awesome. Like I said, there was some good, some bad. We're going to get into it today on this episode. And if you guys are new here, thank you all for showing up. I appreciate y'all. And again, there's also the YouTube channel as well, man. If you guys have YouTube, which I'm sure everybody does. But if you guys enjoy the channel, enjoy the podcast, go over to YouTube, man. It's Stay Classic with Mr. Classic. Go over there, give it a like, subscribe, man. I really would appreciate it. So, like I said, man, let's get into this review. Starting off tonight, we have Adam Page. Adam Page comes out to the ring. The crowd erupts for Adam Page. Huge pop for Adam Page. He comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, and honestly cuts the most insane promo that I've ever seen. And for abundance of reasons. Number one, credit, yes, they were in Mexico City. They were in Mexico. The entire promo that Adam Page cut last night was in Spanish. And honestly, I was blown away. Because for one, I didn't think that he had that in him, to be honest with you, because, I mean, you got to think, man, majority of the promos that he has had have been in the States. I'm not sitting here saying that, he hasn't learned how to speak Spanish, but the entire promo was in Spanish, and it kind of took me back, like, wow, man, this guy really wanted to bring the fans into this promo, and it was great. I mean, he got the fans over immensely, he got himself over immensely, and I was just blown away. I mean, a lot of people that I talked to that watched Dynamite last night was like, man, I really didn't see that coming from Page at all. And the entire promo, I think it was like maybe 10 minutes, was entirely in Spanish. And I was blown away. I was impressed, man. It was great. He thanked the fans. He also praised CMML and how far they've come. And that, clearly he's a fan of CMML. He also talks about Jon Moxley. He also said that he wasn't going to be wrestling on the show that night, which he did not. He did not wrestle at all whatsoever on the show last night. But I was blown away by this promo, man. I mean, a lot of people that, like I said earlier, a lot of people that I talked to, one, they did not see him cutting that kind of promo in Arena, Mexico. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Two, the fact that he did cut that promo and the fact that he engaged with the fans and the fans engaged with him and, they understood what he was talking about. He understood what they were talking about and really got them in tune into what AEW was kind of all about and where his mindset is going into All In, obviously mentioning Jon Moxley. It was just great, man. I think a lot of people were just blown away by that promo. I mean, even people that are, bigwigs in the podcast field, I saw their reactions to it, and they all said the same thing, and I had to agree with them, man. A lot of people were blown away from the promo that Adam Page cut last night in Arena, Mexico, and honestly, man, I was blown away. I thought it was cool as hell. And I didn't see it coming at all out of Adam Page at all, but I respect the hell out of that guy, man. I think he's great for the brand, and the fact that he can actually, bring the fans in and allow, they can also understand his story, and the fact that he, the entire promo was in Spanish was great, and I think it was something that people need to understand how hard that really is. Especially if you're not fluent in another language, and the fact that he was able to cut that entire promo, in Spanish. I mean, it was great, man. I think it was one of those things where, there's a few times with AEW where they get stuff right, and a lot of things they get wrong. And this was something that they did right. I think this was something that brought the fans even more in tune in with the show. The fans in the crowd, the fans around the world that watch AEW, it really brought them more into what AEW was all about, thanks to Adam Page, and I think he did a fantastic job with that promo last night. So again, really cool stuff from Adam Page. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It's a humongous tag team matchup. It is FTR, which I thought it was going to be FTR, but come to find out, it was only Dax Hardwood. Stokely Hathaway came out with Dax Hardwood and said that Cash Wheeler was not able to show up at the arena last night. So I don't know what that was about. I don't know if it was because of the gun charges that he had, and even though those charges are now gone, I don't know if it was something from that, maybe a visa issue. But usually 9 times out of 10, FTR make these shows, so I thought it was kind of weird that Cash Wheeler was not there. But It was Dax Hardwood, Volado Jr., Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, Hechicero, Lance Archer, and Josh Alexander taking on Bandito, Atlantis, and Atlantis Jr., Templero, Brody King, and Daniel Garcia. So this was a huge tag team matchup. They also had Adam Cole a part of this matchup as well. I apologize for that. It was a good match, man. I think, the biggest thing for me in this matchup was the fact that because the tag team match was so big, they couldn't even have the guys on the apron to be a part of this tag team matchup. So it looked like a glorified battle royal. It was a lot going on. And to be honest with you, I feel like it was one of those things where Tony Khan kind of threw these matches together just to try to get everybody a part of AEW and CMLL all a part of the show the best way that he could, or that he knew how. It was a lot of confusing stuff going on. Decent match, back and forth matchup with Bandito, Atlantis, and Atlantis Jr., Templera, and Brody King, Garcia, and Cole were keeping the pace of the match. Templera hits a springboard Hurricane Rana. King then hits a Death Valley driver on Alexander off the apron. Alexander and Bandito then both exchange in the middle of the ring. King and Archer both exchange as well. King then hits a Hurricane Rana of his own on Hechicero, but Atlantis hits a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Bandito, Atlantis, Atlantis Jr., Templero, Brody King, Danny Garcia, and Adam Cole. Interesting match there for the first match of the night. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's Okada versus Mark Briscoe. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Okada and Briscoe, with Okada keeping the pace of the match. Briscoe hits an enziguri on Okada. Okada and Briscoe both exchange in the middle of the ring. Okada then hits an elbow drop off the top rope on Briscoe, but Briscoe gets up, hits an exploder suplex on Okada. Briscoe then goes to the top rope, hits a froggy bow on Okada for a near fall. Okada gets up, hits his signature drop kick on Mark Briscoe, followed by a tombstone pile driver. Okada then hits his signature Rainmaker on Mark Briscoe, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Okada. After the match, Don Callis attacks Mark Briscoe as well as Okada. Some interesting stuff there between Don Callis and Okada. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is MJF taking on Mystico. I thought this was a really good match, man. The fans obviously were really gravitated towards Mystico. He is a big deal over in CMLL. And specifically in Mexico, he's a big deal. So, and the fans loved his entrance music, man. They were singing along with him in his entrance music, which I thought was pretty cool. But it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between MJF and Mystico, with Mystico keeping the pace of the match. Mystico then hits a Hurricane Rana on MJF. Hurt Syndicate then attack Mystico. Mystico then gets up, hits a springboard swanton, landing on MJF in the middle of the ring. Mystico then hits a power slam on MJF for a near fall. Mystico then gets up, hits a destroyer on MJF. MJF then gets up, hits a tombstone piledriver on the ramp. MJF then makes his way down the ramp back into the ring. He tells the referee to count out Mystico. Mystico almost got counted out, but he rolls back into the ring. Mystico hits a Spanish fly on MJF for a near fall, followed by an armbar. MVP then distracts the referee. MJF then hits a low blow on Mystico, followed by another low blow on Mystico. Referee ends up seeing it. Match ends in disqualification. Hurt Syndicate then attack Mystico. MJF then takes off Mystico's mask. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey attack Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. A couple of things I want to say about this matchup. Number one, this was one of the matches that was on this card that there was somewhat story around. Leading up to this matchup, there was a little heat there, a little hostility there between Mystico and MJF. It made for a really good match. The fans were really in tune to this matchup. A lot of fans were gravitated towards this match. And it was definitely one of the matches on the card that I was excited to see. And like I said, man, Mystico is a big deal over in Mexico, specifically in CMLL. He's a big-time player over there, man. And the fans, they're in tune to what he's doing, man. They're gravitated towards Mystico, and he's a huge deal. So to see this matchup, obviously for a lot of fans over there, this was probably a big deal for them. So it was great. I was surprised that he ended up taking off the mask of Mystico. We saw, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey attack Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. My prediction here after that attack is that we're going to see the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin defend those AEW Tag Team titles against Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight at this year's All-In in July in Arlington, Texas. I think that's my prediction. I think that's what we're going to happen, because right now the way things are starting to, unravel, it seems like they will be defending those titles against Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey at All-In. So some interesting stuff there between the Hurt Syndicate, Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey. But Again, hats off to MJF for getting the win in that match. Moving on from that, we have a fatal 4-way for 4 million pesos. It is Ricochet taking on Hologram versus Lio Rush versus Mascara Dorada. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup with everybody involved, with Dorada hitting a Hurricane Rana in the middle of the ring. Dorada then hits a Destroyer on Ricochet that looked absolutely brutal. Hologram then hits a Spanish Fly. Lio Rush then hits a Poison Rana on Ricochet, as well as Dorada. Lio Rush then goes to the top rope, hits a Frog Splash for a near fall, but Hologram gets up, hits a Portal Bomb, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and the winner of the 4 million pesos, is Hologram. Hats off to Hologram for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Zeusius, which I might be pronouncing this wrong, but Zeusius taking on Mercedes Moné, where Zeusius is defending her CMLL Women's Championship. I thought it was a decent match, back-and-forth matchup between Zeusius and Moné, with Zeusius keeping the pace of the match. Moné then hits a springboard Meteora, taking out Zeusius. Zeusius then gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana on Moné, followed by a Spanish Fly for a near fall. Moné then gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana on Zeusius. Zeusius then goes for a top rope maneuver, but Moné counters it, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new CMLL Women's Champion is Mercedes Moné. After the match, Moné stands in the ring with all her titles. All of a sudden, she's interrupted by Mina Shirakawa, and then it goes to the Titantron, where a video package was played of Toni Storm walking through the streets of Mexico and finally making her way to Arena Mexico. But Moné looks confused. She doesn't know where Toni Storm is. Toni Storm then gets in the ring. She's standing right behind Mercedes Moné. She ends up attacking Moné, and Moné runs off. So obviously they're starting to slowly build this matchup here between Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné, taking place at this year's All In Arlington, Texas. We'll talk more about this Moné stuff at the end of the podcast and how I truly feel about this Moné situation at the end of the podcast. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of AEW's Grand Slam Mexico. It is Will Ospreay teaming up with the Ops and Swerve Strickland to take on the Death Riders, the Young Bucks, and the Beast Mortos. The match itself, it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Death Riders, Mortos, and the Young Bucks keeping the pace of the match. Yuta and Shibata both exchange in the middle of the ring. Samoa Joe and Moxley exchange in the middle of the ring as well. Ospreay hits an enziguri. Ospreay and Moxley then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Ospreay hitting a Pele kick in the middle of the ring. Mortos then gets involved in the match by hitting a spear on Hobbs, taking Hobbs out. Samoa Joe and Mortos then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Ospreay then hits an Oz Cutter on the Young Bucks. Moxley and Swerve then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Swerve hitting a rolling flatliner in the middle of the ring. Moxley then hits a roll-up on Swerve, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Death Riders, the Young Bucks, and the Beast Mortos. After the match, Death Riders and the Bucks and Mortos attack Ospreay, Ops, and Swerve. Page music hits. Page comes out to the ring. Page and Moxley then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Page then goes for a buckshot lariat on John Moxley, but missed. Moxley ends up taking out Matt Jackson. After that, Adam Page then goes out of the ring, chases after John Moxley, but he also gets face-to-face with the Young Bucks. Some interesting stuff there between the Young Bucks and Adam Page. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, and I mentioned this maybe about 10 seconds ago, is Mercedes Moné. A lot of people, and I know this is it's a tough subject for a lot of people, and a lot of people get up in arms about this, and they get pissed off, and they get irate, because I've seen it all over the internet. I've seen everything, when it pertains to Moné. A lot of people, they're really defensive when it comes to Moné, which is fine. But my standpoint on Moné is going to be the same. If not what it was then, it definitely is now. Mercedes Moné, people have to understand this. I've seen it all online where people are like, oh, I can't believe that people are mad at Moné. It's not Moné's fault. It's creative, and these promoters are allowing her to win these championships for the respected promotions. Well, let's look into that for a second. Let's dissect that for a second. Number one, yes, these promoters have a say in who they want to put their championship title on, respectively, on a specific superstar. That's their job. That's their decision to make. It's their company. It's their promotion. I understand that. When you look at the situation with Mercedes Moné and the fact that she was supposed to come in here and revolution the women and all this other shit with AEW, that has not happened. That's not happened. She's gone to all these different promotions, and these promoters are allowing her to show up in AEW. She shows up in AEW, and she's probably letting these promoters know, hey, I can't lose. I can't take the L. So what, I mean, and it's not like they're going to turn Monet away. So what they're going to do, they're going to give her the title opportunity and have her win their respected women's title. Right now, the whole mission statement was, Monet was going to come in and save women's wrestling. Bro, to be honest with you, she's killing women's wrestling at this point, to be honest with you. It's bad. Monet holds multiple titles from a lot of different promotions, and most notably, that recently just happened was last night at CMML when she beat Zusius for the CMML Women's Championship. It's a problem. This is a huge problem. And I'm sorry, but if you're a promoter, and I'm not just talking about Tony Khan, which I will get into in a second. If you're a promoter, whether it's, Progress or New Japan Strong or, CMML or whatever the hell belt she holds for that specific company, it's hurting the roster that you currently have on your promotion. The women that have been there busting their ass to get an opportunity at that world title, then you just seemingly give it to Mercedes Moné. And she's not even a full-time employee with that company. These are women that are busting their ass on the independents that are trying to get notarized and get the opportunity to get themselves a bigger opportunity somewhere, maybe on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, or AEW, where they're making more money, they're getting TV time, more notoriety, and skyrockets their career. No, you have Mercedes Moné coming into these promotions, in one fell swoop and taking out their champion, and then she's gone with their belt. That's a problem. And I feel as if you're a woman on one of these promotions, you got to be pissed off because, yeah, you could say, oh, well, it's bringing some limelight to our promotion. Okay. But at the same time, too, don't you think one of those women that are already currently on that promotion can bring more limelight to that company and showcase their talent and say, hey, this is what's going on over here, rather than just having Mercedes Moné be the one to bring some limelight to that certain specific promotion? I feel like if I was a woman in a certain promotion with this situation with Moné, I'd be pissed off. Here this person's probably been there a couple years busting their ass trying to do what they can to make it, not only onto the main roster scene or be a world champion, but they're busting their ass to try to make it and survive. Some of these women, this is all they do. And you're making money on the indies, which, no offense, you're not making WWE money, and you're damn sure not making AEW money. You're just not. That's why they call it the independents. I'm not trying to knock the independents. Some of the best wrestling in the world is still in the indies. Absolutely. You look at other companies that are around the world that are independent. Absolutely. Some of the best talent in the world are still currently under the independents. You look at someone like Zilla Fatu, that people are desperately waiting for to join Raw or SmackDown. Patiently waiting. And it's still yet to be seen on what Zilla Fatu is going to do. You look at some wrestlers over in House of Glory. Also another big independent promotion. Yeah. They have phenomenal talent that come in and out of those doors through House of Glory. Absolutely. Other independent companies around the world, sure. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there that are looking to get in the top spot to join WWE or join AEW. And then you have Moné just coming in and just stomping a mud hole in their whole entire fucking division that they've been working on to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to beat your champion, and I'm going to walk out your new champion for this promotion. It does nobody no good. It doesn't do Moné any good. And even with her winning that title last night, didn't mean jack shit in the match that she's going to have with Toni Storm at All In. It meant fucking nothing. It meant nothing. It meant nothing. What was the fucking point of her winning that title? What? She already has a high-profile matchup against Toni Storm. Her winning that fucking match last night against Zusius for the CMML Women's Championship, it meant fucking nothing. Nothing. And if anything, and here's the thing too, bro. If it's something that came down, and this is why I know Moné has more control than people fucking think. If it really came down to, okay, Moné can't lose straight up. She can't lose. Okay. Then how come we couldn't have Toni Storm interrupt this match, attack Mercedes Moné during this match, and cause Moné to win the match only due to disqualification, where Zusius was still able to keep her CMML Women's title? Moné wouldn't have won the belt, but she would have won the match by disqualification. Why did we not get that? That's where the creative control thing is a huge fucking problem for Mercedes Moné. And people need to wake up and smell the fucking folders, bro. I have been saying this shit about Moné for a while now. She is in business for herself. And I'm not the only fucking person saying this. I'm not. I saw the dirt sheets. I saw everybody else saying the same shit. She is in business with herself. She is looking to cash the fuck out, man. You got to look at the narrative. when she was going to come back to wrestling, when all that shit popped off with her in WWE and her and Naomi seemingly left like a thief in the night, and she was, no one knew what the hell Sasha Banks was doing. She was on a hiatus, as well as Naomi. And then Naomi pops up in TNA, pretty much reinvents herself, gets her name out there again, and then WWE want her back because she's, doing great things over in TNA, and she was. She completely reinvented herself, and she's done a fantastic job by doing so. But Sasha Banks, or Mercedes Moné, was waiting in the balance, and then she shows up in New Japan, starts having matches over in New Japan and all this other shit in Stardom. Oh, okay, now she's wrestling again. And then it came time for her to go back and have a conversation with WWE. Well, she wanted to go back to WWE, and she wanted Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch money. And Triple H and WWE weren't willing to offer that kind of money because maybe they saw that she was an issue. Maybe she thought she was too old. She's not worth that kind of money. So don't get it twisted, bro. At the end of the day, she wants to go back to WWE. And she's playing Tony Khan like a fool. Like a fool. And he's gullible for it, man. He's going for it, and he's going to let her do whatever the fuck she wants to do. And she has more control than people think. So that match last night that happened with her and Zucius, that was a Mercedes Moné call. That was her letting the promoter know and letting Tony know that she was not going to fucking lose this matchup, especially leading up to what she's calling the biggest women's match of all time when she takes on Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship in Arlington, Texas, and All In. There ain't no fucking way Moné's taking an L before that matchup. That's not happening. No way. But like I said, if I was going to be the promoter and book this matchup, I would have still had Zucius as my champion because she fucking earned it. And then have Toni Storm come in during this matchup, attack Moné, cause a disqualification where Zucius, my champion, still keeps her title that she earned. Moné still wins the match because of disqualification, and no harm, no foul. But no, we had to have Moné go along with this fucking matchup and have her beat their current CMLL Women's Champion just for Moné to walk out of Arena Mexico, the new CMLL Women's Champion. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. And don't people out there say, oh, she ain't got that kind of pull and all this. She ain't got that bullshit, bro. Here's another news flash for y'all. I'm going to throw this little curveball at you. This is going to blow y'all's mind. Last night, in one of the matches, one of the first matches, or one of the tag matches that we had, one of the tag matches that we had last night, it was the Death Riders. And we also got the Beast Mortos. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand what's your deal with Beast Mortos. Well, it was discovered that Mercedes Moné is now dating the Beast Mortos. That's fine. Great. I'm happy for him. But here's where the situation gets kind of conspiracy a little bit. Mortos shows up during this match. There was no Claudio, by the way, which I don't know what the hell was going on with him, because as far as I'm concerned, he's not injured. And he's been traveling all over around the world with no problems whatsoever with his visa. So I don't know what the fuck happened. The reason why Claudio couldn't show up at Arena Mexico, because he has been there before on these little excursions. I think he was there a few months back. I think it was a few months ago he was in Mexico, and he was in a tag team with Wheeler Yuta, if I'm not mistaken. So clearly, I don't think there was a visa issue here with Claudio. I could be wrong, but it just seems a little far-fetched. So they replaced Claudio Castagnoli, who's a part of the Death Riders, and they replace him with the Beast Mortos. Now, again, I will reiterate, him and Moné are in a relationship. So they brought in the Beast Mortos, and he was a part of this matchup. Now, Mortos has been around the block for a little while. It's not like this is his first rodeo. And for what I found out, supposedly, and I could be wrong, but this is what I heard through the grapevine, that it's been 14 years. 14 years since the Beast Mortos has been on CMLL television. 14 years. And when the news came out that Moné was dating Beast Mortos and she was on this card, it was a little ironic how Moné's on this card and she was probably saying, well, hey, we're going to put Beast Mortos on this card too because I'm dating him. I'm just saying, bro, there's some shit in AEW that's going on behind closed doors that people just don't fucking know. And I'm not sitting here saying I know everything either. But read between the fucking lines, folks. There's something going on here, man. Moné is in business for herself, and she's playing Tony Khan like a fucking fool. And don't think for 1 second that she is not attempting her way back to WWE. She is trying to get herself damn near blue chip stock at this fucking point in this company to build herself up, build up her credibility, build up her money, build up her notoriety, cash in on all these championship titles that she's seemingly winning left and right. Go into All In, beat Toni Storm, become the AEW Women's Champion. and be like, well, I won all the titles here. Now it's time for me. There's nothing else more for me to do. And at that point, there would be nothing else left for Mercedes Moné to do. This goes back to another Mariah May situation where people are like, oh, they're pissed off that Mariah May just up and left. Why? Why? She was in the, if not the greatest women's storyline of all of AEW in their entire 5-year existence up to this point. And she was, what, 2-time AEW Women's Champion? Something like that? There's no bigger prize for any woman on that roster besides the AEW Women's Championship. She's not, what, play second fiddle for the TBS Women's title? No. She knew at that point, A, that she always wanted to go to WWE. Number one. Number two, there was nothing else left for her to do in AEW. And Toni Storm put her on. And she did a fantastic job. And then she took her talents and went over to NXT. And now she's known as Blake Monroe. And people are still pissed and irate about that. But as far as I'm concerned, let the girl cook, man. If that's what she wants to do, and she can capitalize on the opportunity, why not? Because Tony Khan didn't know what the fuck to do with her. He had no plans with her at all. And as far as I'm concerned, she wanted to leave well before that match happened between her and Toni Storm. You know what I mean? She wanted to leave the company. If you're a woman right now on the AEW roster, you got to be pissed at the situation at hand. Prime example, bro. I think it was a couple of days leading up to this show with CMML at Grand Slam. Thunder Rosa said that she wanted to be a part of the show. Where the fuck was Thunder Rosa? Answer me that question. Why was Thunder Rosa not a part of this show? Honestly. Answer me that. The only women's match that we had on this entire card was Mercedes Moné. Wake up, folks. Moné is running the fucking show in AEW. And what she wants is what she's going to get. Absolutely. And Tony Khan's dumb enough to let her do it. Moné is in the same conversation with Jon Moxley with the fact that these two individuals are ruining this company within. They play a huge part in the reason why AEW is the way it is. Now, the show last night, it was great. It wasn't really heavily storyline driven, but wrestling wise, it was a really good night. I can't complain. Not very story driven, like I said, but wrestling wise, it wasn't bad. But the Moné shit has to stop, man. This narrative with people saying, oh, well, she don't have this, she don't have creative control. Bullshit, dude. Stop that bullshit. She has more creative control than people think. And you guys can't realize that by now. I don't know what to fucking tell you, man. Read the fucking room. Honestly, read the narrative. Come on, bro. She wins a title last night that means nothing for. How does it benefit her at all? How does it benefit her at all? And if Toni Storm was going to show up anyway, then if I was the promoter of CMML, what I would have had done is my champion, who I crowned, was Zusius, being my promotion's women's champion. I would have had Toni Storm come out during this matchup, cause a disqualification, where Zusius doesn't lose a title, but Moné still gets a win on a technicality because of a disqualification, so it doesn't fuck up her record. There was no need for her to win that title. No need at all. So I can tell you right now, we're going to get to Arlington, Texas, and then she's going to probably beat Toni Storm. And after that, who knows? I don't even know when her contract's coming up, but I'm telling y'all right now, bro, she is trying to desperately get back to WWE. And she wants top dollar money. She wants to be the top draw in WWE, which is going to be very telling considering the fact that WWE is really not forking out these long, extended contracts and not forking out a lot of money anymore since they signed with TKO. Unless they're going to get rid of a shitload of talent and a lot more money they've been spending on certain talents to bring in someone like a Mercedes Moné and actually give her what she wants. But by doing that, you're probably going to have to release a hell of a lot more talent to subsidize the amount of money that Moné is going to be asking for once she wants to return back to WWE. So there's going to be more budget cuts and more releases that are going to be happening to pretty much give Moné what she wants. And that's unfortunate, and that's a shitty way of thinking about it, but that's the ultimate truth. She's in business for herself, folks. She gives a shit less about the women's roster in AEW. She's not putting any one of them over at all. I mean, dude, like, read the room, bro. She's not. Tony, you could say, oh, well, Toni Storm, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. She's put over Mina Shirakawa. She's put over Mariah May a few times. Toni Storm knows how to run the women's locker room, and she's trying to do whatever she can to save it. Moné doesn't give a shit about this place. She's looking to cash in, bro. I'm telling you guys right now. So when the time comes and her contract comes up and she's like, oh, well, she's in talks with WWE, don't be surprised. I'm telling you all now, this is what's going to happen. She's on her way back. She wants to go back to WWE. And she has a lot of control right now. She got her boyfriend a part of the CMML show last night where he wasn't able to... He hasn't been in CMML in over 14 years from what I heard. But randomly one night, because Monet's on the card and they're dating, he shows up. Come on, bro. Come on. Get the fuck out of here, man. It's so, like... It's almost borderline fucking cringy at this point, to be honest with you. It is. I used to say this about AEW back in the day about the inmates running the asylum. Dude, this is the pure definition of that shit. Monet, she ain't sharing a locker room with that in the women's locker room. She's got her own locker room, bro. She wants no part of that shit. She's there for herself to collect money. Get the notoriety, make history, so when the time comes her contract comes up, and she's done all these accolades in AEW, that it's going to be a really hard sale for WWE not to bring her in after all she's done in AEW. It's going to be a more tougher sale this time than it was the first time when she was trying to negotiate a contract to come back to WWE when she left after all the bullshit that she was dealing with the women's tag team titles at the time. That's exactly what's going on here. She's trying to cash in. And people saying, oh, she's going to stay with... Bro, I'd be shocked. I'd be fucking shocked if she stays with AEW after her contract comes up. She's looking to get the fuck out, man. She's looking to get out. She's looking to get out, cash out, and that's it. And while she's in AEW, you best believe that she's going to capitalize on every opportunity that's going to make herself look good. You think she's going to put somebody else over? No. Look what happened last night, bro. I mean, honestly. What was the reason behind her winning the CMLL women's title? It meant nothing. Nothing. It doesn't have any correlation with her walking into All In Arlington with Toni Storm. For what? You just could have called it a disqualification and called it a day. You know what I mean? And like this card alone, bro, a lot of shit just... I don't know, man. The Cash Wheeler thing was kind of confusing because usually he makes his shows unless something catastrophically happens. He was a no-show. Dax was by himself. Stokely Hathaway announces that, oh yeah, Cash Wheeler's not in the house for some random-ass reason. And then Claudio Castagnoli was replaced by the Beast Mortos, which again goes back to what I said about Mercedes Moné, but it is kind of odd because A, I don't think he's injured, as far as I know, and B, usually he has no problems whatsoever with a visa or anything else like that. So like, or any kind of travel issues. He's always been there every single time. So that to me just seems very far-fetched. Was like this something that Moné pulled last minute? Was this something that she demanded from Tony Khan and he's like, oh, we got to do this because, like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't. But it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. And unfortunately, like, you know, it's one of those things where you really had to look on the fact that, you know, yeah, she is Mercedes Moné, she's a big deal, but I think she's also ruining this company. And she's in business for herself, which ultimately ruins the rest of the women's locker room. You know, if I was a woman on that in that roster, I wouldn't want to work with her. Absolutely not, because A, you know you're taking the L, and B, once you take the L from her, you're right in the back of the line again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's what the fuck is the point to have the match with her when you, like, they want to put her over? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it makes no fucking sense. To me, she's looking to cash in, bro. It's about the ego, and she has probably one of the biggest egos, if not the biggest ego in that locker room. You know what I'm saying? She's not a company person, bro. She's a Mercedes Moné person. She only gives a shit about herself. And that's where we're at right now, leading into this year's All In with Toni Storm in Arlington. So, we're going to see what happens, man. But like I said, my standpoint with Moné, it remains the same. She's in business for herself, and I would not be surprised if she heads back to WWE. But as far as the entire show last night, I think it was a really good show. Wrestling-wise, from top to bottom, it was a really good show. Obviously, storylines were lacking. It really wasn't storyline-driven, obviously, you know. But wrestling-wise, it was a good show. The crowd in Mexico was absolutely incredible, man. You guys were awesome. You made the show feel very important. And the fans over there, man, were just awesome. The aesthetics of the way it looked, you know, the Arena Mexico with the entrance, the ramp, the stairs. It was just cool as shit, man. And they really did a good job putting that together. The ring looked great. It was just, aesthetically, it looked fantastic. It looked really cool, and it was great. Hopefully they go back. You know, hopefully they go back to Arena Mexico, because this is something that could really benefit AEW immensely with this new relationship with CMML. And to be honest with you, you know, I know a lot of times we get a forbidden door with, you know, New Japan's best. I wouldn't be opposed of seeing CMLL and AEW just have their own Forbidden Door. To be honest with you, man, or do something where it's the best versus the best and winner take all kind of deal. It'd be pretty cool. I think the CMLL working relationship with AEW is going to be very, very nice for the foreseeable future for AEW. It gets more eyes, eyeballs on the product for both companies. I think it just benefits both parties involved. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of those things where, they can put on some really phenomenal matches with both companies working together. So as a fan, I couldn't ask for more than that. So yeah, hopefully they do go back to Arena Mexico. It's a great arena. The fans were really in tune to what was going on, and they were absolutely awesome. One of the best parts of the show last night. But like I said, man, it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't really story-driven, but a lot of wrestling, a lot of good wrestling matches that happened last night. But, like I said, some good, obviously some bad. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite Grand Slam Mexico. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful.